Hi, I'm Sample2346, but you can call me True. It's the end, my friend. The end is nigh, and all we ever see of stars are their old photographs. Opus esse uno unum cognoscendi. You can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. We are talking HBO's Watchmen Season 1, Episode 9, Season Impossible Series Finale. See how they fly. The AfterBuzz After Show starts right now.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz.
TikTok. Is the clock even still ticking?
Welcome.
So many things happen. I appreciate you both holding down the fort while I was gone, making sure everyone knew to tune in tonight as we discuss this HBO's Watchmen Season 1, Episode 9, Season Impossible Series Finale. See how they fly. I don't know what is going on. We've watched the show, still don't know what's going on. So many questions, so many answers, so many things to discuss, and we will discuss them all here right now. And by here, I mean there, I mean everywhere. That's how the universe works. That's how time works. Yeah. That's how all things work, except for me, and me is the capital Tehran. Yes, I spelled my name just for all of you as it is on my hat. My name's Tehran. We will be hosting and paneling this entire show, but I'm not alone. I have an entire crew. A crew, I say. A crew of people who are not reruns. All the way to my left's left, the one and only Ryan Nilsen is in the building.
Yes, head of Popcorn Talk. So psyched to be here. We had a reaction on Sunday night, Nate and I, and it was raw.
It was a little too raw because a lot of people didn't like the guy to my left. Even though you remind everyone of The Flash, he reminded everyone of trash. Let's talk to Nate.
Here we go.
Hey, Nate.
I'm prepared for this.
I didn't say anything. I feel that you disappointed a lot of people with your comment. I, however, enjoy the fact that you have an opinion.
Yeah, I unfortunately, hi guys.
Hey.
Happy to be here.
Good to see you, man.
Love the show.
Nate,
I knew
Miller time.
I knew that when I said what I said, I would get roasted and people would take it to the extreme instead of actually taking what I literally said.
You should have added a don't at me.
No, but honestly, I appreciate the engagement. I read the comments, even the bad ones,
Even Oprah was very
Thanks
upset
for
at
watching.
you. Every black woman in America booed you all at the same time.
Let me tell you, Tehran, it wouldn't be the first time.
You mentioned an actress's name, an actor's name, and you said they were not good.
I didn't say not good. I didn't say not good.
Wait, feel free to explain.
I just said I wasn't blown away. I think she gave a good performance, but in terms of like the performances that I think really drove the show, I don't think it was her.
You weren't blown away? Because she was literally blown away in this episode. Let's talk about this. As we get in, of course, Steph Sabra is holding it down in the back for all the black women out there, the proud black women. She is our 10.5. Hi, Steph Sabra. How are you?
Okay, not a black woman, just want to be clear, but I love black women.
But you are one in the soul. You have the soul.
Heavy supporter of all black women, including Regina King.
I think you're actually a heavy supporter of all women, just to be fairly honest. All women, women power all the way.
I know the topic of discussion was black women, so.
Yes.
Hashtag Black Girl Magic. Goodbye.
Yes, thank you so much. And we will be breaking down this episode as thus. Veidt is the man. Am I Veidt? True's origin. Manhattan. We go to Manhattan. Blake, of course, we're talking Agent Blake. Angela makes a call, gets a call. How's that work? Reeves at the movies. Reeves goes to the movies. Movies are expensive. I can't believe he took 3 kids with him. Too good to be true. See what I did there? Of course, I'll show you a rerun. How was that said? Angela turns blue. Or does she?
Ooh.
TikTok. Buy or sell, our special segment in which we buy or sell a part of this week's episode. And for this week, we will do a special buy or sell, a part of this entire season as a whole as well. News and gossip. We have some great stuff you're going to want to stick around for. Some special news and gossip and predictions. And our predictions have been spot on for the most part and more. Please let me know your overall thoughts on this week's episode, HBO's Watchmen Season 1, Episode 9, See How They Fly, the season finale.
Brilliant. It was great. I loved it. We were freaking out on our reaction on Sunday night, and I really think it was a justified reaction. This show was absolutely amazing. Just 9 episodes, because that's all they needed. They didn't need to prolong it with 10. They didn't need to shorten it up with 8. They went 9. They did it their way. They came in, they crushed the story. This is a worthy sequel adaptation series, accompaniment to the graphic
I
novel.
apologize. Did you call it a sequel?
This is an incredible continuation of the story.
Thank you.
I absolutely adored it.
Do you know how I feel about the word sequel?
I'm getting a vibe.
When it comes to Watchmen, if you...
Right.
Okay. I just want to...
Yeah.
I'd be less offended if you pulled me out of the car and just beat
Let's
me.
not
I'm just
retread.
letting you know.
Oh, you would be
I would
less
be
offended.
less offended than you calling this.
We did this.
Just
Not
letting
a
you know.
sequel.
Yes.
Continuation.
Thank you.
Sequel. And
I'd be less offended if you said Regina King was a bad actress. I'd be less offended.
That's not what I
Really?
said.
That is kind of what you said.
and
That's not what I
just
said.
think they killed it. Shout out to Damon Lindelof. Drink one, Grayson
Every
Ryan.
time Ryan says it.
Drake one, and all the other writers. He wasn't the only one. Just a remarkable television. My qualms are few and far between.
I think the other writers should get a lot more credit. They are underrated. And I also think that Lindelof is underrated in this because it is his vision that allowed this to come to be. And we know this because of his past works, of course, Lost and the Leftovers. So we know that there's a world in which it's almost as if all these things are happening simultaneously. They could all be part of the same world.
I do want to say, though, that every time I have heard him do an interview talking about this show or even read an interview about this show, he is very adamant about shouting out the other writers in the writer's room, not only just
Because he's that great a guy. And by he, who does he mean, Ryan?
Damon Lindelof.
Take a shot, everyone.
but not only because, you know, he is a great guy and he wants to give them credit, but also because he knows that he's talking about such sensitive material that as a white male, sometimes, you know, it's a delicate position for him to be in, and he needs to be able to say, like, no, this is not just me saying all these things. This is coming from a group of people who have varied experiences, some of whom the experiences we're actually talking about, and they are helping to lead this discussion. I'm just kind of curating it, you know, and I really admire that.
So he's the white
hasn't-
savior. He's the white savior of the...
Well,
You're just the most popular speaker on the panel, mate. You just love...
That's not what I'm saying. You really like to twist what I'm saying.
What did you think of this episode? Let's see if we can twist
I
this.
thought it was... I thought it was really good. After rewatching it, yeah. Well, there is a but. Like, honestly, I feel torn because as a TV fan, as a TV show, I think it's a spectacular season of TV. I think the ending is great. However, being so close to the core comic book, which I am, and the characters, it just a lot of the ending stuff, it falls apart and it kind of unravels some of the reasoning behind the plot of the show for me personally. That being said, as a TV show, the way it's constructed, especially the way that last episode plays out, the editing, the pacing, the callbacks, and also, I mean, to an extent, the ending, it's very well done. I've never seen anything like it. Don't
try to get on our good side now, Nate. I would like to say this. Nate, honestly, you and I have had opposing opinions a lot throughout this year of watching this show. And I respect your opinions. You're very well educated. You are a true student of the comic book and very knowledgeable on a lot of things. Ryan, of course, there is no but. I just wanted to point out because I respect.
I appreciate that.
And everything you just said was sacrilegious in a lot of ways. I kind of agree. What? I didn't say that out loud. I didn't say that out loud.
Oh gosh.
Here's my thing.
Yeah.
I appreciate it as a TV show.
Great.
And I'm not even taking it as the comic book lore simply because once you add a continuation, we are now creating a world upon a world. So there are certain types of liberties that will be taken. However, at the end, the last 5 to 8 minutes of this episode, I could do without. They left it vague purposefully in one of those Inception moments where the dreidel is spinning, the little top is spinning. We don't know if it stops or not.
We don't know if it's a dreidel or not.
Exactly.
But then he immediately turns around and does multiple interviews telling people what it means and what happens.
So what happens?
He's saying that she walks on the water, that she gets the power, she gets Dr. Manhattan's powers, she walks on the water.
That was his interpretation. And now I will say this, however, in my personal view, if there is a second season, which I could understand if this is a standalone, I would appreciate a second season. I think most people at home would love more simply because we're greedy. We want more. When we like something, we want more. Hence why there are 25 Fast and Furious movies. We liked one and now we want so many more. My thing is, I think personally, and this is a prediction, disregarding what Lindelof said himself, and assuming he's not attached to the second season.
Right.
So therefore, he would not be breaking any type of lore. I believe Angela falls in the water, is dismayed that she even attempted to do such a thing, thinks she's silly, foolish, and then throughout the course of the next season, in a moment of passion and necessity, develops the powers that she didn't realize that she had. Because that is kind of what happened that's kind of what happened in the original Dr. Manhattan, is because he pulls himself together. It's not like he went in with the intent of getting the power.
But here's the thing, Tehran.
And I think that's my prediction.
It doesn't matter if she walked on water or fell in or not. The fact that she tried is the real problem. You see, earlier in the episode, Ozymandias lays it out point blank to Lori and Lookingglass by saying, any person, man or woman, that tries to get the power, that actively looks for power of God, must be stopped at all costs. They aren't a good person. That's why Dr. Manhattan worked out so well, because he happened upon these powers. They were just given to him randomly. He didn't actively look for them. He didn't want them. He just got them.
He worked out so well. It worked out so well. I mean, the 3 million people that died.
Did he kill them, though?
That died on October, what's the date?
Hey, as he said, he could have done a lot more. But Angela,
done
it's
a lot
an issue
more
for her character
Disappear
to have
the
even
nukes.
tried and eaten the egg.
End starvation, clean the air, all the things he should have done. Let's get into that.
Could have done a lot
Let's
more.
start with which one? Flip a coin, Veidt or Trieu? Which origin or story do you want to
Veidt.
go? Let's go Veidt, of course. Of course you picked Veidt.
I picked Veidt.
Okay, Veidt lives matter. Ryan,
Oh, God.
what were your opinions on the Veidt storyline getting off Europa?
I think they were not really a worthy adversary, but they did put on a damn good show.
They put on a hell of a show.
Hell of a show. I loved it. I loved it a lot. I think it's hysterical that he has been that statue the entire time. Really,
Which was a prediction made right on the show.
that was made on the show.
Thank
Correct.
you.
And I just think that's laugh out loud hilarious. I think it's really interesting. I mean, you asked Veidt or Trieu, but they are connected in a way in that it's official.
And which is
She's the
why
daughter.
it is a coin toss, because they are interconnected all the way through.
This
And
opening scene,
was amazing.
injecting semen. I guess he.
Whoa, we're not at Trieu. Let's talk about
him,
Veidt.
though.
Let's talk about Veidt.
That's his sperm.
Let's talk
man.
about Veidt.
That's
Let's
his
talk about
sperm,
Veidt on
bro.
Europa.
He freezes his
Let's talk
sperm,
about
bro.
Veidt on Europa.
On Europa. Well, he got that horseshoe at the end of last week's episode, the week before's episode, and finally, Lady Trieu has seen the message: "Save me, daughter." She sends the ship. He goes out there and he has to fight the slaves, the game master, if you will,
the game warden,
and he takes him out with a horseshoe, and they have that epic scene that is just basically, he's been going through all this suffering, but it kind of makes you look at all the episodes in a different light, and that, man, he's written this story. Man, he's been entertaining himself with all these problems. He's been looking for something more, just a little feeling, and he might have gotten a little bit of that, but it wasn't fully satisfying. He still wanted to go back to Earth. He couldn't rule over that perfect society he always wanted.
I thought it was a really cool way to tie together all these segments that literally seem like nonsense and suddenly make them all make sense just with one line of dialogue. The idea that he came, and when he says in the first episode, I'm writing a play, and we see the Joel Osterman thing, we're like, okay, well, this is what he's talking about. But he's also writing this play with the game warden and and these rules and the court and all that, all of that stuff. He planned that. And these things where she winks at him, and in the first episode when he gets the horseshoe and he's like, no, I don't need this yet. We're like, what? And now it's because he told him, all right, and then you're going to give me the horseshoe and the cake, and I'm going to, and that is Adrian. That is Veidt. So that was really cool to be oh yeah, because otherwise you would kind of go crazy just being there all alone with these beings that can't really fend for themselves. Really cool. And seeing the ship land and everything, and yeah, I know you want to get to Trieu later, but his interaction with Trieu and then being able to see that, and then thinking back to realizing that he's reaching out for her, and then thinking back to knowing before it said save me D, and we thought, well, maybe it's daughter, and well, it is daughter, But also, not only does it just daughter, but the fact that it says daughter, like that's a big deal. That was, to me, the relationship between the two of them is handled really, really well. I think this episode really, it's crazy that we got all of that in just one episode. It's really well done.
True to me, worthy adversary, yes or no? Or did she put on a hell of a show?
I think yes and no. Really, really interesting character.
So technically, you just did not answer the question.
True.
I see what you did there.
Okay,
Ryan.
I mean, I'll say no.
No, Ryan.
Yes.
Yes. I felt their interaction, as was pointed out by yourself, Nate, was a game of chess. I felt that dynamic. I don't know if anyone else felt this as well. I love the Europa storyline. It did tie everything together very nicely. A lot of scripts are not as are inept when it comes to this, and are not as complete. This was a seamless way to tie nonsense and make it all completely make sense, to the point where we watched it and we're like, how did we not know this was it?
How do I even go to work tomorrow?
It's as if you put in one piece of the puzzle and now the picture makes sense, but before that had no idea what was going on. Then we switch to the Trieu storyline and get her origin before their interaction. So let's stick to the origin story.
Okay.
As Trieu's mother,
Frozen semen,
comes in, and specifically, and this is the translation, I want to ride the strong winds, crush the angry waves, slay the killer whales in the eastern sea, chase away the army, reclaim the land, remove the yoke of slavery. I will not bend my back to be a slave. We see the Vietnamese workers in Veidt's factory working. The ones he poisons, by the way, if we go to the comic book, they're actually dressed the way they are in the comic book. And a lot of nods. We get the Ramses 2 as the password, the knot, and the untie the knot, which is a reference to, I believe, the Gorton knot, which is the knot that cannot be undone. And then, of course, Alexander the Great just comes and cuts it with the sword, showing, look, when you think out of the box, anything can get done. Of course, thousands of years ago, people thought that was out of the box.
Well, but it's symbolic for
Veidt's character.
Right. Just like how instead of solving the puzzle, he just cut it and broke the puzzle. It's just like how he would kill 3 million people to fix the problem.
Though it did not fix. Let's look at the world that he lives in. It is not he was searching for utopia. It was not the utopia that he was searching for.
It's an interesting oversight he had. You know, we think of him as this all-knowing character. He's got everything under control. And then this simple, basically janitor just slips in, knows where he keeps his stuff, and boom.
Don't say stuff now. You said sperm 14
His
times.
frozen sperm.
When we were talking about Europa.
And now I'll say it 15 times. And injects it right in. And then there's the daughter. I thought that was another interesting detail, that he's never even given himself to another person before, which of course not. Like, he just doesn't even want to.
There was the concept, and Nate, please correct me if I'm wrong. Was it a rumor that Veidt was homosexual?
Rorschach says that he's a possible homosexual.
I remembered something. I remember there being a nod towards that, because he had never given himself to any woman, even though he had the fame and the power and the money and all the Bruce Wayne aspects of being the billionaire playboy without the play.
But there is also
the asexual component.
There's also theories of that
when you're that
just asexual.
intelligent.
Yeah, because he's focused on so many other things that he's just not really. That's not a thing for him, and I think that's also part of the reason why he has a lab vial full of, semen, as he would of other, tissue, blood samples, whatever, for science stuff. But I think especially
his
for
arrogance
that,
means he should be studied.
Yeah, exactly. Or I'm sure that exactly.
Or it's his way of justifying his sexual desire.
Right.
That's a thing that happens as well. Psychologically speaking, people in this realm can do things that are outside the means to justify their actions that are average, everyday actions. However, they do it in an extraordinary way in order to justify why they did it. It's actually one of the apathies of
Psychopathy. What else is an apathy or element of that is if you hit the like button in the chat, that would really boost our show. We got about 80 live viewers of this episode.
How many likes?
Only 17. So come on, let's bump it
Everyone,
up. I believe in
please.
thermodynamic miracles. Make it happen.
If everyone at home, just remember, this panel is not only about us. It's all of you at home. Each and every one of you is, if not as much, more so important member of this panel.
That's right. Please hit that like button. Go on iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating, comment, like, subscribe. Thank you for making us the ESPN of TV talk. Tehran, what did you think of the climax with Angela's story?
The Angela story, thank you for jumping ahead 50 steps.
All right, let's take it back. I think we're experiencing them all at the same time, like Dr. Manhattan would.
I understand what you're doing right now. You have everything going on at the same time in your head. Yes, you're everywhere. You're experiencing it all.
I'm already
All the
at the end of that.
lithium,
I'm at the
it's hard
end
for
and
him
beginning.
to. It's hard for him.
They
to
do put
stay
lithium
present.
in these rooms. That's why it's so warm.
I just haven't felt it yet.
Is it warm?
My thing is, when it comes to True's origin, great origin. Also, another prediction made on the show. True is Adrian's daughter. How it happened, this was a great way to make it happen. Now, father and daughter meet. Daughter shows up at daddy's doorstep, knocks on the door, figures her way in for coffee because Adrian, being Adrian, basically turns her away.
I knew you
gets
killed
in.
3 million people.
Yes. But once you say that, you got to come in. That's how I let people in my house.
Right.
Once they go in, they have a battle of the wits. What were your opinions on this conversation? The $42 billion that True needs to create her quantum centrifuge capable of absorbing the energy of Dr. Manhattan so she can transfer it into herself. But she can't afford to build the thing.
I thought it was awesome. I think the one thing this show has really nailed is the idea of like what the world would be like post 11/2, and like the idea that this utopia would not really work because of the way human nature is, and also a lot of advances in culture and things that have happened in this last.
That's a
few
conversation
years.
Steph Sabra and I have actually often regarding human nature.
I heard.
Interesting. I'd like to hear that. Now you completely derailed.
I think what was so great
but it's
about...
true. It's a conversation we have regarding human nature because it's interesting you pointed that particular detail out of how the world does not become a utopia despite the commonality that's found in this new awakening.
Right. As he
it only
says-
lasts as long as enlightenment does in human nature.
They keep building their bombs, as he says. So,
And their guns, and their tanks, and their bombs. Okay, sorry.
So she's like, I'm going to top you. I'm going to get the powers of Dr. Manhattan and be able to get rid of all those tanks and bombs.
All the things that he did not do, specifically disapprove the nukes, end starvation, clean the air.
But like any great teacher, he throws at her, well, I'm not going to hand it to you because nothing was handed to me. You have to get it yourself.
Though his family was very wealthy and he was handed an amazing fortune, he threw it all away to start from nothing. Even though he's the world's smartest man, he's also the dumbest person alive. But that's just...
I mean, it shows that both of these characters, ego and pride, are like they said, they're both raging narcissists.
Yes.
And seeing them both
Opus
interact.
esse uno.
Yeah. It was.
Unum cognoscendi.
It was really cool seeing them go at each other. I think it was true. I wasn't this is why I mean like yes and no, because I really like this dynamic of her. I like her interaction with Adrian. I believe her motivation because of the relationship they have and the type of person that she would be, and it makes a lot of things make sense, like her wanting her parents to be there and kind of the showy way that things happen because of wanting to prove this guy right. But also just like what you said earlier, you were talking about how Adrian's talking about anybody who's a narcissist, you don't want them to become a god. But I also don't know if you should necessarily believe Adrian, because to me, I read that whole scene as he's still so. To me, I think he's more focused on not wanting her to win and be right and one up him. I think more so than he wants to save the world. Like he wants to save the world for the notoriety, right? But he wants to do it because I saved the world, not you, not my daughter, because I am.
And he says that
Adrian.
he wants the credit that he does not get. Adrian wants credit. He doesn't. He sends Redford the message. Redford won't even call him. Thinks he'd become president regardless. And then of course the nod to how Reagan became president, specifically how would a cowboy actor ever become president? It would never happen.
Right.
Reagan that was basically his nickname. So it's very, very well done up to this. And I would like to say that after Joker, Lady Trieu is my favorite DC villain at this point right now.
Wow.
I thought that was amazing. I thought she was an amazing character. And in fact, one of the parts of the ending that very much disappointed me was her death.
Oh,
she's amazing.
Pray tell.
It was amazing. We'll talk about this when we get to the death part. We have Beyond, which by the way means secretive in Vietnamese.
I didn't know that.
Beyond knows she's a clone. So this geniusness is transferred all the way around.
I mean, she's been drip feeding her the memories, and she's, around while all this stuff is going down, and it's probably heard her say, "Oh, my mom and my dad are going to be here," and I'm sure she's told her that Adrian is her dad. So I think, like you said, she's smart. She put it together.
Yeah, I think that's a character that, it's like you said, this genius is passed on, and that actually made me laugh out loud when we were watching it, where she's just like, "I'm your mom," like it just fully realized, and wow, it's just a complete mess. But Lady Trieu wants her parents to be proud of her.
Yeah,
that is ultimately her greatest weakness.
And I really like the concept that Beyond is smart enough because she's actually brilliant before, and that's a nod to immigrants who come to this country, to the United States, and are actually janitors or work what we consider quote unquote menial jobs, these noble jobs that we look down upon often. And they're brilliant people who were surgeons, generals, whatever in their own nation, and now they work because it is actually very noble. So let's discuss 3 parts in one. Okay. Let's Dr. Manhattan this. We have Dr. Manhattan. He's teleported. We have Agent Blake, who's there tied to the chair. We have Looking Glass,
who's in disguise.
Mirror Guy is there in disguise. So we know what happened. And then, of course, Angela gets there as well and comes in to
guns blazing,
save the day or just make it worse. We don't know. Let's discuss that scenario as a whole and individually.
So really, well, and we also have the 7th Cavalry,
yes.
Of course.
And feel free to discuss with the chat as well, Ryan.
Also, yes, well, I'm in the chat, y'all. Usually we're here every Sunday at 7 p.m. Obviously, it's Wednesday. We got 98 people in the chat, and the likes have gone up. Please hit that like button, as always. A bunch of people just throwing out their thoughts here. Enlightenment is a Buddhist. Oh, that just jumped. Buddhist, Hindu, Indian concept. Stay awake with your third eye, people. Yeah, I mean, I think what was interesting.
I like this. This show makes you smarter. We're all woke from watching the show.
Woke from it. What's interesting about the 7th Cavalry here is I think at the beginning of the season, their story, it seemed like they were that main antagonist. Like they were going to be that main bad guy, and slowly they introduced Trieu, and now the 7th Cavalry is an afterthought, and they're treated as such in this episode, almost like the idea of like the white nationalism they're not even really focusing on it that much this episode because it just downplays their overall significance that they should have. I think what was really interesting with that, first we got Senator Keene trying to transfer the energy, and of course Angela warning him, like, don't do it, this is what Trieu wants. She doesn't believe a word he says and pops like a grape, which is what he said was going to happen to Dr. Manhattan. Such an amazing scene, and I loved everything. Just everything about that was awesome. And seeing the blood go all over the floor, and then having that be the way Dr. Manhattan could just give like one final transfer. So clever. So
him
awesome.
in the Speedo.
And that was my thing. That was a thing that happened to me. Okay. And we'll talk about at the ending. The blood's on the floor.
Yeah.
And that is how he uses to basically teleport everyone. And of course, Keene, we get Senator Keene, both of them. The Keene Act, which is what outlawed vigilantism to begin with. Mm-hmm. And he shows up in a wheelchair, which for a second I thought maybe that was Reeves in disguise. But then, well, I mean, the wheelchair was a significant thing. A la Atlanta.
Wearing a mask.
Yeah, something. But it wasn't. And then I thought that for a minute. And I don't know
Honestly,
if I'm the only one.
Yeah,
I'd be surprised. I wouldn't be that surprised.
Exactly. But that was the Keene Act, so it was good to get the nod. And of course, Senator Keene goes in, Joe goes in the booth and can't absorb the power. The blood starts dripping. Sure. What were your thoughts on what ended up with Mirror Guy, Agent Blake's take, and Angela being there?
What do you mean just...
Overall, that storyline. That
Mirror
was
Guy is an afterthought.
I thought...
I don't even know why
he
he's
didn't
still there.
do anything.
He didn't do jack.
With that.
He literally
His
didn't do
story's
anything.
over.
Disagree how so? What do you
I think everybody had their part to play, right? So he was there first of all, he was there because they attacked his house.
We understand why he was there, but
he went back to get the evidence, right? And just happened to walk in to be like, "What the fuck?"
He did nothing. At least shoot someone. Do something.
But he's just standing there.
Yeah, this is my problem with heroes.
But you don't.
This is my problem with heroes is the hubris to think I have to be alive in order to save everything. You know what could have happened? Mirror Guy was there. Shoot Joe Keane. Oh, look, this guy has this evil plan.
But then they just
and I have a gun. Okay, and then what? No one else. And they kill him. And what? But Joe Keane doesn't. That part that leads to everything else. Just to let you know, I'll die, but at least I saved the day. But everyone's like, no, I need to stay alive in order to save the day. I have to stay alive. If I die,
take out Lady Trieu.
I see that. I guess
kill Keane. You're the hero. You've basically been waiting.
But that wouldn't have done anything anyways.
I feel like it would have stopped everything else.
But Lady Trieu.
But what was the point of having Mirror Guy? Lady Trieu wouldn't have been teleported there because Keane wouldn't have hit the power button.
That's a good point.
He would have died, and the rest of 7th Cavalry, there is no leadership where it's like, oh, Keane died, now I'm going to step up. That once you cut off the head of the beast, it ends the beast.
But that's that's the whole point of Cyclops.
It's murder-suicide. No. Who was going to, you think Senator Keane was going to roll his ass? And
no, but there was plenty of other...
Even if, yeah, okay, he didn't need to shoot them. It obviously brought a lot of attention. It's still like this character who is a major part in the whole rest of the season.
It was amazing.
In this episode, he's just kind of there.
He's there to be a part of the arrest at the end of the episode with Laurie because he is personally connected to what Adrian did, and it calls back to, like you said, Adrian wants to get that credit, and this whole time he's chasing that, and in the end he gets it, but not in the way that he
wrenches.
Well, we don't know if he does get it. We just know that's what it looks like.
No, in the papers they talk about. And so in the PDpedia, there's a final release where they talk about what happens to PD, and they also talk about
Lube Man.
Yes, but they also talk about Laurie being debriefed and her bringing somebody in. They say it's classified, but we know that who she says she intends on bringing in, and he has the evidence.
But we don't know if it goes further.
Right.
So we'll talk about that as well.
Okay.
That goes into predictions because does it go further?
But I mean, to me, that's why he's there.
Sure.
Just like the same reason that's why Laurie is there is because she's on the
Laurie's there, and another problem is Laurie doesn't bring up, hey, oh my God, Dr. Manhattan, who I call every now and then. Hey, remember me? Remember when you used to be inside me, 5 of you? Like, what? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, they didn't even talk.
They didn't even speak.
But you know what? I get it.
I agree.
I wouldn't talk to her either.
Not in front of my new one, bitch. Like, what? I need to understand. Like, how did this play out?
I wouldn't talk to her.
Yo, you see my wife is right there. You know you my ex,
dude. He's about to.
I need to understand.
I'm not talking to her.
No, I don't understand that. That's why, and this is where to me the breakdown begins. Now we'll get to Too Good to Be True. True comes in. All the equipment is true. Joe Keane, of course, zaps himself up, pops like a grape. They are teleported now. They all throw up. Great nod to the comic book, of course, to Laurie puking. And then True is in place to take the power. The machine, the Millennium Clock is now in place. The power is now being zapped out of Manhattan.
Of which the science is really
the science is there. It's there. I'm giving the science credit. I don't mind that.
The science is vague.
True is there. Now, on the flip side, we get the teleportation, and we get Veidt. Who else? Veidt,
Looking
Blake,
Glass, and Laurie.
and Mirror Guy are now in Antarctica at the base, and the plan is coming to freeze the squids and send them. Teleportation device. Now we know it's automatic. That's how it was running even when Veidt was on Europa. Great.
Just to keep people's eyes open.
Hey, just make it 22 degrees and things will freeze automatically, and then send it. And they will pelt through you like metal balls. There are actually bombs that we use now.
Here we go.
Dirty bombs that do that. They pelt the metal ball to destroy everything. It's actually very destructive. Yeah. We see that in the beginning of Swordfish, if you remember. But so it's supposed to work like that. What were your thoughts?
I mean, brilliant. It's a brilliant plan. Hey, let's disrupt this. We just had a shrimp squid storm a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago. Use those coordinates in, plug it in, boom, boom. That's how you save the day.
I'll show you rerun.
And it was a rerun, and it was awesome. I mean, I thought that was such a clever way, something they put in from the first episode, a little tease, little Easter egg, and it just comes back full circle right here.
Especially with True saying, you had a brilliant idea 20 years ago, but you were still doing the same thing, only smaller. It's a rerun.
And this rerun crushed like a Seinfeld episode on TBS.
I mean, that's just really tight writing. Like, they've been teasing the squid shower from, like, the trailer.
How did we not know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but how would you, like, if someone actually theorized, like, oh, in the end, Adrian's gonna freeze the squid, and that's how he's gonna kill Lady Trieu, who's the bad guy, I would have been like, you either worked on the show or you are Dr. Manhattan.
What did you think about Trieu's death?
It was. I liked the symbolism they did with the big hole in her hand after her looking at the crucifix and like the imagery, but I don't know. It did feel kind of anticlimactic. It makes sense because of the joke that Laurie told.
Yes.
But so I kind of figured that's what was gonna happen. I don't know. I just feel kind of not as satisfied. She did a lot of cool badass stuff and talked. I love
Trieu. Trieu was amazing to me. I did not think that was an appropriate way for her to die.
Oh yeah?
I would love to know what that Millennium Clock was made out of, because it was paper thin and the even though it was supposed to be indestructible, I remember them bringing that up, and it's earthquake proof and this proof, and
was
then
it frozen squid proof? I didn't think they said that.
You know what was frozen squid proof?
What?
Angela's little tray that she found on the ground while it was raining. She went outside, picked it up, put it over her head. Her hands are exposed. Nothing happens to her. She runs all the way to the movie theater, and nothing hits her.
But she's Sister Night.
And the and the booth
and the telephone
booth. The booth is totally fine too.
So the telephone
booths are built out of material that's stronger
Captain America's
than
shield. All of a sudden, it's made out of Captain America's vibranium.
Right,
vibranium.
but she makes the thing to hold the most important energy that makes you a god in the world out of aluminum.
Aluminum foil.
I could not be on. That's when I said the last 8 minutes just killed me. I could not be on board with that.
The last 8 minutes were the best part of this entire episode.
If you just give in to suspension of disbelief all the way around and say, hey, we want to just end this season.
There's a blue god in the show.
Yes.
Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah. Amazing.
It's out the window.
That's also a problem too.
Also a problem, even though there was an argument made that time works differently and Dr. Manhattan can perceive time. However, he doesn't specifically change it because then it would alter everything he sees beginning and ending. And so he lets it play out. He is a unwitting traveler on this sea of ocean of omniscience that he rides upon.
You know what I think? You know what I think?
The problem with that is
frozen squid.
You can't
not kill Angela.
You lack imagination.
I hate it. It wasn't even that big. It wasn't even that big. Listen, when you carry an umbrella in the rain, you still get wet, just not as wet as if you did not have the umbrella. At least one or two hit your leg or something. Splash up, hit her in the face.
It was an equipment. I think she got some bruises. I'm not going to focus on the bruises.
It was literally the case that held the red camera equipment for the red carpet. It was something like that.
The wounds had air, so she was fine.
I was so hurt by the fact that, and then she runs in, and at least we did get William Reeves in the theater, which was also a bookend to Hood Justice, the movie, to Bass Reeves. With the kids.
Well, that scene was incredible.
With the kids.
You can't heal under a mask, Angela. Wounds need air.
Talk about a
That's 2019.
Now, once again, amazing writing. I did not like the way the end tied up. And I do not know, does Angela turn blue? Yes or no?
Well, so they flash back. He's like, watch the eggs. Boom, throws it. There's one left. And earlier last week.
The quote was specifically, you cannot make an omelet without breaking some eggs. And Grandpa says that to Angela, you will understand it when the time is right.
Here's the thing.
If the time was right 5 minutes later.
If she gets those powers, that is negligence on Angela Abar's part. She's got 3 kids. Now she's by herself, by the way, raising them. If she takes that egg and becomes a god, forget the kids. Forget the kids. You're solving world hunger and all that. I think that is irresponsible.
That is against... That is something against mothers who can work. That's a career of women. You can work and take care of your kids. I don't do it.
Is your job?
I would argue that God? I would argue that most mothers are gods. Just to let you know,
goddesses.
Nate,
I just don't.
No. I use gods. It gender neutral.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Take it back.
I just don't. I just don't buy. Like the implication I'm assuming is that the only reason why John is so apathetic then is because of John, which to me, which that doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Then it has to be a prior characteristic, because if you get the power and you become like him, then all these people would also become like him.
That's what I'm saying.
But the concept is, no, it's your character. You can say, so then John just was autistic?
That's what I'm saying. So it doesn't, that's where stuff starts to fall down. And then also too, this idea,
How does it fall down?
Hold on.
Okay.
You can't have this romantic moment where he's choosing to sacrifice himself to give this power to her so she could do better, and then also in the same show say that he's a puppet who sees the strings, who has no control, because then he's not making that choice. It's just what happens. So then it's not really that romantic.
Well, no, it is
meaningful.
romantic because he can see what happens, but he hasn't experienced it yet. He hasn't felt the emotion.
He can't do anything different. He can't change it.
Well, it does change.
What changes?
So moments like this, like where he decides when he fell in love with her, he can't answer that because he hasn't experienced it yet. But once he does experience it, he can explain it.
But
just like at the ending.
But that doesn't change what happens. What happens still happens.
Whatever happens, happens. But he's gone. He doesn't know what happens after that.
The only thing romantic was his blue penis. Let's get into our special segment, Buy or Sell. Remember, all of you at home, we want you to comment below and let us know what you think. Buy or sell, I want you to do the episode and the season. Ryan.
I am buying this episode and Regina's performance throughout the entire season. I am buying season 1. I would not buy season 2. I think this was a great ending.
Interesting. Love that. Nate.
Sold.
Hate it, but I love it.
I am buying the relationship between Adrian and Trieu. I think they did a great job with that. I am selling Dr. Manhattan with pupils. I got through it with the other episode, but this was just way too much. I think it really pulls me out of the character. And I'm also just selling this idea that it's a good thing for her to get these powers. Like I feel like that's what they intended to happen, and I think that's what happens. But I just don't. I feel like that's a bad thing. So I don't know.
But we don't know if she got him, right?
We don't know.
We don't know, but spin the top. Pupils, you're a special person, Nate. I am buying Lady Trieu. I'm buying Lady Trieu this episode. I'm buying Lady Trieu for the season. I am selling Lady True's death and Angela running through the squids with nothing but a little top and somehow surviving. And through the season, I am selling the concept of you have no free choice and you have all free choice. I am selling that notion because, as you put it eloquently, Nate, you cannot have it both. You cannot have your cake and eat it too, as we saw evident specifically by Adrian Veidt. You cannot have both. You cannot have it that Dr. Manhattan is this savior by making this grand gesture towards Angela and just doing it because this is what happened and so it's happening.
Right.
Can't have both. Let's get into some news and gossip, shall we?
AfterBuzz TV news.
That's right. AfterBuzz. Because you knew it happened simultaneously. Now, we have several pieces of information that you will want to know about. First of all, Variety. We made Variety, everybody. Watchmen ends with a season high 1.6 million viewers, which is a record on HBO for a show for a season. Make sure to check it out. Wow. That's on Variety, meaning we may get a second season. But do we want one? Polygon puts on the great question, do we even want a second season of Watchmen? That is a argument that has been going online since this. We'd love for you to below in the comments let us know, yes or no, season 2. Say yes, season 2, no, season 2.
Yes, all
Watchmen.
caps.
Let's go do that. Now, why Dan Dreiberg, that is Night Owl, is not on HBO's Watchmen? You're going to want to read that on Collider, and I'm not giving you any spoilers because these are all great reads, especially if you are missing Watchmen the way we are, because Watchmen has been crack, even though we don't advocate crack, but we do advocate Watchmen. So HBO's Watchmen, why Dan Dreiberg isn't on HBO's Watchmen, and of course, we put all this together to say, do we want that season 2? I need to know from you. Season 2, yes or no? And if you want a season 2, let's hashtag Watchmen 2. Hashtag Watchmen 2. We started here, right here at AfterBuzz. Let's get into some quick predictions going into if there is a season 2.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Or overall in the universe of this Watchmen as created. I'm going to start with Nate.
I wasn't ready for that. All right. On a season 2, I mean, I'm not going to lie and say that I wouldn't watch one if they did one. I just really hope that if they get a showrunner that has a clear idea that they want to do.
J.J. Abrams.
I don't want to see, just in the same way that this was not like a direct right after the book, I don't want to see a season that's right after this. I could maybe see it be interesting to see what else is going on in the world, maybe a few years later, or maybe just in another place, or maybe, you know, other people dealing with the fallout of hearing that there's now a new Dr. Manhattan in another place and seeing what happens. But I'm just not particularly interested in just the idea, like he's even if she does retain who she is and she wants to be a good person, then it's like, well, what's the show? Because she can do anything. So how many episodes does it take for her to turn all the guns to flowers and feed all the kids and give everyone homes and, you know, be super Angela God?
Thanos Manifesto. That's a great point.
It shouldn't take very long at all. My other couple predictions that are just based on stuff we didn't see. I think there's a possibility if they do another season that Dr. Manhattan is still alive. Trieu makes a point to mention, which they've said a couple times, that image that we saw on Mars, it's not just an image, it's actually a clone that's up there doing things with preset loop. We know that Manhattan can split himself up. And then also, too, the idea that this energy just kind of dissipated. It didn't really go anywhere. It didn't get absorbed. We've seen him reassemble himself before. I wouldn't be too surprised for them to do that as well again. And that happens. I could also see, you know, maybe Angela doesn't get all of the powers. Maybe she just gets some power, because that's kind of what he talks about when he says giving some away. I don't know. There's a lot of places that they could go, and I would definitely be interested in seeing it again. I just hope that I don't know. I'm almost positive they're going to do another season because it's been so popular. I just really hope that it's really good. Yeah.
Ryan.
I predict a season 2 wouldn't take place after this season. I think it'd be taking place in the past, maybe along the lines of when Hooded Justice was around, or in maybe the time in between there. I predict we won't get an answer to whether or not Angela got the powers or not, and I think it should be that way. It's like the Inception ending. It's not necessarily a cliffhanger. It's more about the idea of, wow, if she did get those powers, what would she do with them? I also predict that
if God was one of us, just a stranger on a bus,
trying to stand on the pool.
I predict
No? All right.
We'll get a lot more likes in this chat, so please give us a thumbs up. And Tehran, what are your predictions?
Predictions really quick. I'd like to say I started off with one when I said Angela falls into water and then develops the powers slowly, and not all the powers. I also think that there is another Lady Trieu. When we're talking about clones, I could see Lady Trieu cloning herself and giving that clone the nostalgia. And now that Lady Trieu gets up to speed. And I think that is something we will see at the end of season 2.
That's really...
for a setup for season 3.
Yeah.
I called it now. That's what we hear.
Good prediction.
But anyway, let's call it night as we have now come to the season's possibly series finale of Watchmen, HBO's Watchmen. Where can people find you if you want to be found? Ryan Nilsen.
You can find me at RY Nilsen on Twitter. That's Nilsen. And at Ryan Nilsen _ on Instagram. Head to Popcorn Talk. We got Star Wars news every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. On our sister talk show, Popcorn Talk Star Wars.
Have you seen it?
Oh, I've seen it.
Oh, we saw it.
Oh, we saw it.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet.
It hasn't out.
Guys.
It isn't out. You got to be special.
Oh yeah, I'm not
Thought it
special.
was.
You can find me being not special all over the internet at Dog Like Nate.
Well, I already found you. And you can find me on Europa, possibly on Mars. You never know what I'm looping myself. You can find me walking on a pool somewhere, or at I Am Tehran all across the board, IAMTEHRAN. And also hosting and paneling on a slew of other AfterBuzz after shows, because all of your favorite TV shows, my favorite TV show too. Until next season of Watchmen, if there is one, this is the panel supreme. Steph, we love you. At Steph Sabra, find her, love her, show her that love. TikTok.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.